In this unit, we're going to take a look at light plots and what a light plot is, how to read a light plot, everything there is to know about a light plot, and the associated paperwork. A light plot is simply a graphic representation of where the lights are going to hang in the theater or in a venue. It's just a drawing about where we're going to place the lights. There's also information about each light that surrounds it, and most of that is provided as a number. So there are a lot of numbers that are around a light, and sometimes it might seem really confusing, but once you understand what they mean, it's really pretty simple. A light plot is a technical drawing. Unlike a scenic drawing or costume sketches or anything like that, it is simply a technical drawing. It is not aesthetic. It doesn't mean that it shouldn't be an attractive drawing or well laid out or properly organized and neat, but it doesn't, I can't show this to a director or to other creative people to show them what the design is going to look like. That actually comes once we're in the space. The light comes, or the art comes, once we start turning on the lights. And this is just a rough little 3D model of our light lab, and you can sort of get a sense of the space and where the lights are and our little person there. So as we start to think about a lighting system and how a lighting system works, and it connects directly to the light plot, right? So in a lighting system, the light board sends just a signal to this big electrical device that's sometimes located in the basement or in a room off stage, but it's the dimmer rack. And the dimmers are where we translate the signal that comes from the light board into actual power output that goes out to the lights. So these little dashed lines here are actually dimmer power, and quite often they carry quite a lot of power to each one of the individual lights. So there's a couple of terms that we're going to be using as we discuss this. And the first one is a channel. Channel is strictly a number that is used by the light board to control dimmers and groups of dimmers, right? So a channel is a number that is strictly within the light board, and we'll talk a little bit more about it, right? A dimmer is actually the dimmer number in the dimmer rack. And these dimmers then go out onto the stage and usually appear or surface at just one point on the stage. So maybe dimmers 1 through 5 will appear or surface or exist on the front of house catwalk, right? So a dimmer oftentimes just comes out and there's only one instance of it. A theater like the Fallon Theater has hundreds of dimmers, more than 200 dimmers. And each one of those dimmer circuits appears only once on the stage, right? The next thing we're going to talk about are addresses. And I'll go into more detail on addresses when I start talking about moving lights and LEDs. But in order to control a moving light, it requires a series of addresses. One for pan, one for tilt, one for intensity. Unlike a dimmer that just uses one address per dimmer, a moving light might use dozens. The same thing is true for an LED. An LED requires data and constant power, and we set an address at that device so that it knows where to listen, right? So addresses are primarily for moving lights. Dimmers are assigned to conventional lights that just use a regular incandescent light bulb. And channels then are assignments, right? We use, we patch, right, the different addresses and dimmer addresses into channels so that we can organize our information. You can assign a dimmer or an address only to one channel. You can only apply it once. So I can't say dimmer number 1 is going to be in channel number 5 and dimmer number 1 is going to be in channel number 10. You can only assign a dimmer to one channel. Now, I can assign multiple dimmers to a single channel. So if I have these 3 lights are all plugged into separate dimmers, but I want them all to respond together, right? Then these 3 lights can all be patched or assigned to one channel. Say this is dimmers 1, 2, and 3. I can assign dimmers 1, 2, and 3 to channel 1, and when I bring up and down channel 1, they'll all work together. That's enough of that, right? So the next thing we want to do is let's go back to our light plot, and we're talking about installing our light plot. And the red circles that are on this drawing represent where the dimmers are physically in the space. So dimmers 1 through 6 actually appear in this physical location in the space. And dimmers 13 through 18 here, and 7 through 12 across here. Right, so this is where they physically appear. And what I want to do is I'm hanging the lights. I just want to be able to plug them into the nearest available dimmer. And you can see that this light here is really close to number 7, so we would just plug it into number 7. This one into number 8, 9, 10, and so on, right down the line, so that they all just plug in together, right? Over here then, I have 13 through 15, and I have this light back here, so why not just plug it into one of these? And I have another light that's close here, we could just plug into one of these, right? So all we want to do is minimize the amount of cable we need, simplify our installation, and then we can figure out how we want to break out our control once we get to patch. And we'll talk more about patch and light plots in the next video.